Welcome to Face to Face. This is a show about change and about what's next. It's a show that wants to ask questions, peel back the layers of our average everyday experience, and go beyond scratching the surface. We interview amazing people with incredible ideas and stories who have done wild, weird, and wonderful things. Remember that imagination shared creates collaboration, and collaboration creates community, and community inspires social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face. So welcome to Face to Face. Today's guest is a Canadian, Toronto-born actor, Jason Hildebrand. I think he's Toronto-born anyway. He'll probably correct me momentarily. Jason, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
So I
am Toronto-born.
You are Toronto-born.
North York General.
North York General. There you go. Excellent. And was it an easy birth, Jason?
You don't even want to know.
Yeah, we got to ask your mom about that. I would imagine. Yeah.
That's a long story.
So Jason's an actor. He's a producer. He's a filmmaker, and he's been working for about 15 years in the Toronto area, and partnering with different theatrical and film companies, doing corporate work, doing stage work. I've seen a couple of his plays, and he's worth pursuing. His website is jasonhildebrand.com. That's Jason, HILDEBRAND.com. So Jason, why, pray tell, did you get into acting?
Oh my goodness. Probably because I didn't know how to do anything else. I don't know.
I was interviewing an entertainer not long ago, and I asked him the question, something along those lines, and he basically said, "Well, because I'm lazy." That was his,
funny.
Yeah, that was his answer.
Yeah, I've been a storyteller my whole life, and the things that make me excited in life have to do with stripping away veneer and getting to the core of things. And I think hopefully good actors and good art takes off the sheen and looks underneath to find the beauty and the brokenness.
So peeling back those layers.
Yeah, very much so.
So would a film like American Beauty be one of your all-time faves? The whole notion of I think the tagline on the poster was "Look closer."
Yeah, I don't know if it's all up there in my all-time faves, but I really appreciated what he was doing with the film. I think there's a lot of really interesting things. I think humanity is very good at trying to hide. We try and put up lots of walls and barriers, and we try and look more impressive than we are, or we try and hide our brokenness. And I think, to me, what's most interesting is getting under the surface and actually finding the beauty in the brokenness. So that's, and as an actor as well, that's where I like to mine from.
Yeah. You mentioned brokenness a couple times. Would you call most actors, most performers, artists, would they kind of be categorized as broken people?
I know I am. I don't know if they would all categorize themselves that. I think maybe, yeah. I think in order to get at the truth, a lot of television these days, or even films, is very well. There's kind of two camps. There's the ultra mega brokenness ones, where people think we have to go into the depths of the darkness, so far down into all the muck and the mire, and it's so horrible, and there's no hope.
Right.
And I'm not kind of interested in going into the brokenness without finding the hope. I think that's very dangerous and kind of pointless. And then there's the really glossy kind of reality TV junk where nobody's telling the truth because they're all lying about everything.
Right.
And so I think my interest, I would say, is more, going down into the brokenness to find both beauty. But I think if in any of my work, if I'm not offering hope at the end, then I have failed as an artist. I think great art has to offer hope. And what I mean by hope, I don't mean happy endings. I don't mean like everything needs to be shiny and wonderful at the end. I just mean that even if you end on a difficult note or a dark note, that darkness, that moment needs to lead you into some kind of hope. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, does it lead you maybe to another question?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. But I can't. It doesn't come to mind what the movie was, but I saw a movie recently, and it was just, you go through the whole thing and you think, okay, well, it's really interesting that I've just explored all this darkness, but at the end of it, there's just absolutely nothing. There's just darkness.
Right.
And I think that's a sad comment if all we've got to look forward to is the darkness of our own souls.
Did you ever see a film by Mike Leigh called Naked with David Thewlis?
No.
Quite a few years back. I mean, it just, when you said darkness and sort of all around us, there's a scene where he walks through an empty apartment building and he kind of goes on about existential despair in life. It's a brilliant scene, and I think he should. I mean, I remember there being controversy around the time that he wasn't nominated for this. This was way before Harry Potter, of course, and so on, and other films that he's done. But it's this brilliant, about 15 or 17 minute kind of soliloquy, and it's really dark.
Right.
I mean, I find that kind of film appealing, but I think I'm with you. I
agree.
I think I want a little bit of hope. I want at least maybe an inkling. You know, American Beauty ended with Kevin Spacey's character getting his head blown off.
Yeah.
And yet, for me, there was this beauty in this man's life, and the fact that he made this realization, and the beauty of his wife and his children, and the leaves and his grandmother's old hands. I mean, isn't this a crazy, beautiful world, we live in?
Yeah, I think my probably up in the top 3 movies of all time is Robert Altman's Shortcuts.
Okay, yeah, Shortcuts.
And I love that movie, but it also ends in this horrifying, terrible ending. But I find all kinds of hope in that movie because there's so many interesting things going on, and they take you right down into the darkness of things, into the mess of people's lives. But they don't leave it. He doesn't leave you there. He leaves things open for you to dream and to hope and to root for and want to go with these characters and not give up on them.
Right.
And quite frankly, I think that's very much what God does with us. I grew up in the the evangelical. It's a good thing Jesus came so that we wouldn't burn in hell for all eternity kind of model of church,
right? Okay.
And Christianity, which always made me crazy because it presumed that I was junk, and it's a good thing Jesus came to redeem my sorry butt.
Right.
And I kept thinking, there has got to be more than this.
So hey, Jason, what level of hell were you destined for? Was it, level 7 or level 8?
I don't know.
I think actors were pretty low, actually.
I don't know where on Dante's scale I was there.
I think he put you guys pretty low. Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
But it would just drive me crazy because I would think to myself, okay, well, this can't be it. The God of the universe, the creator of all things, I can't imagine he would want to die on a cross to save junk.
Right,
and it took me a long time to have the epiphany that indeed I wasn't junk, but that I was his kid.
Right.
And I'm deeply loved and deeply treasured. What one of us parents wouldn't take one for our kid. One of us parents wouldn't do anything for our children. And so this kind of idea made way more sense to me. You know what I mean? And so I think that I live in that space of wanting to find the hope in the midst of my brokenness. And I'm wanting to live that out as an actor on a stage or tell that story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's great. Have you seen Silver Linings Playbook?
Not yet.
So we can't really talk about it too much, but it would be, and I'm not worried about giving away the ending for you, but it's it's an interesting film. It really stuck with me, and I think partially because of the performances, but it's about people's brokenness and about basically their shit, basically, and their baggage that they're working through. All of the characters, frankly, in the film. It maybe ends just a little too nicely for my liking, and it would be great for you and I to have a follow-up conversation about that because
I would love to do that.
Yeah, because there's brokenness. Yeah. There's hope, and then there's, come on, guys. Is that really how this ended?
Well, that's Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure they did, test screenings all over the place.
Yeah.
And the people left going, we can't. This is not going to be an Academy Award-winning movie if you don't have a happy ending.
Right.
And so, oftentimes those independent films all of a sudden become these kind of, interesting blockbusters.
Yeah.
And that's when the ending changes.
Yeah, probably true. Test screenings probably make a lot of difference, I would imagine.
It's like I just watched, recently rewatched Blade Runner.
Oh, that's okay. So I don't know if you know, but that's like top film for me of all time.
I'm up there. So I bought the 30th anniversary edition or whatever, right?
Nice.
So
good for you.
It's got all the extra features and talking about I didn't like the original one because it had all this voiceover stuff.
Yep.
And so they go into this whole dialogue about how the people, the people with the money, were saying, "Oh, this doesn't make any sense. You have to put in the voiceover and this, that, and the other thing." So things can get very quickly changed in Hollywood, depending on who's in charge.
Oh, for sure. Who's got the money in the checkbook? Yeah. Hey, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Ringing any bells? Blade Runner, very high on my list. That end scene with Rutger Hauer is just absolutely beautiful with the doves and all.
It's crazy. It's amazing.
Crazy good. So, well, I mean, if you like Blade Runner, clearly you like dark films. So I'm glad. So there's another reason why we can be friends, Jason. So when we chatted last, you talked about a couple of things that I found pretty interesting, and I made a few notes. I don't know if you had just come out of some auditions or something, but you talked about the audition not really being the audition, and I don't even remember what the context was. I hope you do.
Yeah, I was talking about a young actor friend of mine.
Yeah, can you tease that out a bit?
Yeah, well, a young actor friend of mine, and I've been kind of inviting him into the process of what we're doing with a theater company that I'm working with, at the Arts Engine, and so inviting him to various rehearsals and to help out in various ways, and just trying to get his feet wet because he's trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life. Great guy, lots of talent, needs to be trained, but great guy, and so there have been times that he's just kind of really dropped the ball in the last while.
And what does that mean?
Well, not showing up for things that he was invited to that he said he'd be at, or not. Recently he came in for an audition for something we were putting together, and he wasn't prepared as much as I think he should have been. Things like that, and so before he even got to the audition, another colleague and I were talking. We're just saying, you know what? He's been auditioning for the last 4 months by being around, but he hasn't been around. So when he's around, he's amazing, but he has a hard time committing to things like that, right? So we were just talking about, and I think where our discussion was is that, the audition is not always the audition. Life is the audition.
Right.
Being in the room is the audition. And so, I would be interested in giving him a shot. Not because he came in and did one cool 5-minute audition. I'd be interested in giving him a shot because I've just spent the last 4 months with the guy hanging around, and I like him, and I think he's got kind of potential, right?
Yeah.
But when you don't show up, you can't. That definitely reflects on whether I want to put you in a cast and go on the road or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I mean, in a sense, what you're saying is there's a whole lot more to acting than just acting.
And especially a production that tours, or any production, but especially a production that tours. If I'm going to be on the road for 5 weeks with somebody, I want to actually like them.
Right.
I conceivably would go with the guy I liked more, but isn't as good of an actor than the best actor who's a jerk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and when it's your company, you can have some say in that kind of stuff. But I remember my acting teacher always saying that, he when I was at York for theater, I remember him telling me that exact thing, that, he hired guys for, definitely based on their skill, but he sure would like to go for a pint after the game with somebody nice, or after the show with somebody nice, you know? And so, I think that holds true. I think that holds true in most of life, that, there are reasons you're friends with people, and you like to I really like to hang out and work with the people that I like.
Do you think that this is why some of the, some actors have handlers and assistants and so on to sort of help them maintain some sense of normalcy in their, in their everyday life?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really, when you start getting to that kind of bigger Hollywood level of acting, people say, "Oh, that guy got paid $1 million for that job." Well, it's easy to say, "Well, he wasn't doing much," but doing that job is not that easy. It's not that easy a thing. And as much as it's great, you give up a whole lot of stuff too. So if, like a film, let's say a film takes 4 months to shoot, so it's 4 months of work, and you're signing off on things, and you can't be around your family for 4 months, or it's very distracted, or there's lots of that kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, sure.
Or in theater, you don't make any money, and you have to do all those things.
Well, I mean, I think you're, with this guy that you're talking about, this mentee, I guess you could refer to him as, that you're talking about. Live theater, a whole different ballgame, right? You got deadlines, you got tour, you got hotel rooms. I mean, with a film, or with a TV commercial, it's a little bit different, I would imagine. Yep. Different sort of expectations, right? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, and when we're on tour, like for instance, touring a production coming up called The Big Picture, the Bible in 2 hours, there's 5 actors and 1 stage manager, 4 guys and 2 girls. And so, I'm always sharing a room with somebody.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be on tour with somebody that I actually want to share a room with for X amount of time, right?
Right, sure.
And you're spending every meal with these people for 5 weeks. And so,
there's something here about a business acumen. There's something here about relationship management, it seems to me,
Oh, for sure.
Or just simply being friendly. maybe it just comes to
right? I think the thing about doing a show like this and being in a cast like the one I'm going to be involved with is that you all want to go in that God journey together, right? You want to get in the ship and you want to sail across the lake with Jesus, and you have no idea what it's going to look like, but you're doing it, and you don't want somebody kind of going, I don't really want to go across the lake.
Right.
You want to all be moving in the same direction together, because where the show starts and where the show finishes on the tour are 2 completely different places.
Yeah.
And so, we basically, you want to have somebody who's up for it, who's up for the go, who's up for the journey, who's willing to not stay in the same place, who's willing to listen to the voice of God and go down that path.
Right. You said that stories were kind of central for you, were kind of important. I think Steven Spielberg said once, whatever you think about his directing, I don't know, but, he's certainly done some pretty amazing films over the years. But he said that people have forgotten how to tell stories. Do you think there's truth in that?
I agree. I completely agree. And I think we're starting to get back to it. I think what's happened in our is that our world has become so rational and numbers and content driven as opposed to story driven, and I think that the shift has started to happen. I think part of our dilemma has become with technology. Stories are meant to be told in community, I think.
Yes.
I think that. And I can pull out my iPhone and I can find all the most interesting, entertaining things in the whole world. I really never have to leave my bedroom. I could look at my iPhone forever and be entertained eternally.
Right.
But that does nothing for my, long term. I don't know if that could really sustain my soul, because we're made to be in community. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think it's something that, you live in Toronto, I live in the suburbs, I grew up outside of Toronto, and it's a very different thing, right? Demographically and architecturally. Well, maybe not so much architecturally, but there seems to be, I'm not going to say there is more community in the city of Toronto than there is in the city of Mississauga or Oakville or Etobicoke. But I think your community it's about the immediacy of it. It's about the people that you're interacting with on a daily basis. Are you actually getting outside, and actually connecting?
Well, I think one of the interesting things about being in this city, and people always say, I don't know how you could live in the city. And I understand that from a commuter perspective, because if I had to commute into Toronto every day, I think I'd pull all my hair out. But in terms of what you're talking about, the community, I walk everywhere in the city. So I know my neighbors. I know, what goes on 3 houses down the street. I know I don't park in front of my house. I have to park on a side street. So, I know what's going on. And so in the suburbs, people drive into their garage, it closes, and they don't have to communicate with their neighbors. That's not always the case, but that's kind of, what I've found is that it's kind of that paradigm. And so, we actually like being here because we walk by the same people all the time going to the grocery store, and we know the clerks at the grocery store and all that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that happens too, in the crazy suburbs, but it's
for sure
probably not quite as often. So tell me a little bit more about the storytelling thing. I mean, it sounds like a pretty sort of bleak comment by Spielberg in a way. Why is it so meaningful? Is it that we become such a digital Facebook kind of Twitter culture that we don't have to tell stories, or are we just, at the end of the day, are we just lazy?
Well, I think we're more tired than lazy. Probably. I think life is so full and so busy that we end up just coming home, flicking on our media and trying to escape. And what we really need is to engage and figure out how our stories connect together. And I think, there used to be a forum for that. In many ways, I think North American theater is dead because of the digital age. But, having just finished a run of a new show called Breathe, I can tell you that people are hungry for it. I watched it in my audience. I watched them needing to figure out how their story fit into the grander story of the people around them and the even grander story of God and his love for us. And so I think people are, though they don't maybe frame it like this or recognize it, they're absolutely hungry to recognize that their lives actually count for something more than get up, go to work, come home, watch TV, get up, go to work, come home, and then on the weekend possibly, go to the coffee shop or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You said in a recent conversation to me as well about Breathe. We were chatting a little bit about the run coming up and so on, and you said that it's a play about living in the moment. And I think your quote was about just to sort of learn again how to stop and listen. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that, this whole idea of stopping and listening. I mean, it's very much a spiritual concept. It's very much a part of Buddhism. It pretty much runs through all religions, it seems to me. This whole notion of meditating and being present. And I know in my own life, I find it incredibly difficult to be present. It's very hard. I mean, I have a friend, an artist who's doing a piece on a very large canvas, and what he's done is he's taken just a variety of different to-do lists that he's made on Post-it notes and on newspapers and on pieces of paper, and he's kind of gluing them all on this canvas. And I'm not really sure what he's going to do with it, but they've got lines through them and X's and tick marks, and it's just I think I want to buy this piece when he's done. Life is not just a series of completed to-do lists, and so it's hard to be present, and my kids have helped with that. My thinking about wonder has helped, and so on. So anyway, I'd love for you to chat about that a little bit more, about this idea of being present, and maybe even how that connects to being crummy storytellers.
Well, exactly. I think that we're so that we end up moving into autopilot because we're. I know that my life, I couldn't have anticipated how fast life goes. I have 4 kids, and it's just like boom, boom, boom. It's like, we're taking it to piano lessons, and we're going to this, and we're going to that, and then we're getting homework done, and then, I've got a show going on, and my wife's working on her work, and the house needs cleaning, and then, this, that, and the other thing, and we just go from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, somehow thinking we're going to get our to-do list done, and we just never do.
Yep.
And really, all those things are good. All those things are necessary. We need to work. We need to get all these things done. We need to take our kids to classes and to school and all the rest of it. But what is the thing that we should be filtering our souls through so we can do the day, and that's slowing down. And one of the things I love about breath and actually breathing correctly as we are designed to breathe, which is down in our diaphragm. If I asked most people to take a breath, they would take a huge breath in their chest, and they would cut off all the oxygen to your brain. And that's what it does. Right. If you go like that, that actually cuts off all the oxygen to your brain, and you have no more oxygen flowing to your brain, which means you have no ideas going in there.
Right.
And what that also does is it disconnects the emotion from the rest of you. And so what happens when you start to breathe in your diaphragm, your mind, body, spirit actually gets hooked up. It gets like that chart where all the three circles are interlaced.
Right.
But that's how the body is designed, for the mind, body, spirit to be moving together as one harmonious unit, or whether, much like the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit are kind of in the same way moving together, right? And so in North America, we're really good at the head part. We really know how to think and figure it out. And we're not so good at the other two areas, especially the body. And for Christians, they're even worse at it, because somehow they think that if they start living in their body, they're going to be having sex with everybody.
Right.
And which is weird, but and I think
and in some cultures, probably not such a bad thing.
Yeah, brother. But this idea of allowing breath to come, and the idea that breath is actually, when you don't have breath, you are not alive. Like, that's interesting. That really, breath is life, and spiritually speaking, from a Christian perspective, the spirit is breath. When God created all things, it actually, the Hebrew is not he spoke. The Hebrew is he exhaled. He breathed, and all things were created. And I find that very fascinating. And so I'm starting to, and I'm not very good at this either, I'm starting to slow down and try and breathe. And I find when the breath comes and I stop and I pause, and you can, I mean kind of active pausing, not just like sitting in a room for 6 hours.
Sure.
But when you pause, then deeper thoughts start to come in, thoughts of more importance than, what am I going to have for dinner? Although those thoughts are important too, but you know what I mean? And so
I myself haven't experienced that yet. So I've been doing yoga now for over a year and loving it. And it's about meditation. I do restorative yoga. So it's about holding pretty, the hardcore hot yoga folk would think I was a wimp, and that's okay. But the poses I'm holding are, child's pose for 10 minutes and, some of these poses. But it's about the breathing. It's about coming down. It's about focus and being centered and so on. And what I find truly remarkable is how I can center and focus for all of about 7 seconds. And then I'm thinking about dinner, laundry, and I don't really do much laundry, which is peculiar in itself. Just mind all over the place. Then you come back to the breath, and your instructor is always trying to bring you back to the breath. Be aware of the breath, and let the tension go out of your jaw. And you find you've got tension in your jaw. Hang on a second, I didn't think I had tension in my jaw. It's crazy. So recently I've been doing some physio, and I dislocated my shoulder like 20 years ago, and it's been acting up. And what I found interesting about the physio and the yoga is that physio is really about posture. And posture is really about being in the moment and being present and being focused. And it's so deeply connected to breath.
Absolutely.
It's really quite phenomenal, and I've never made that connection before. Maybe everyone else out there has, but for me that was kind of revealing. And so now as I walk or as I'm driving, I find the poor posture in place and I correct, and I do a stretch and so on. Same with my breath. I'm actually now trying to use it in situations where, frankly, it's probably going to be ultimately helpful, and hopefully, we'll get it sorted out before they lay us in the grave. But it's amazing for something that's supposedly so natural can be so difficult to get a handle on.
Well, and I think the interesting thing is that, you watch a kid breathe, and they don't have all the baggage, right, for the most part. and you see their little bodies, just their those little stomachs in and out, in and out, in and out, and they, and they're very in the moment, right? Kids are in the moment, and they're breathing, and then we start to layer on all the stuff of life, more stuff of life, and more stuff of life, and we almost educate our bodies and are out of being connected, right?
Oh, very much so. Yeah. We've learned disconnection. Yeah, it's like habitual disconnection, and I don't really know why, but
well, and it's an entire, especially in North America, it's like a societal disease, this disconnection, and so the inability to breathe is actually a big fat wall between me and my neighbor, or me and the guy watching me in the audience.
Right.
And as much as people have their other walls that they put up of communication, that in itself, the inability to actually engage with the things that are going on inside of you, and I think people are very poor at checking in with themselves. They don't ever think, hey, I wonder how I'm doing. They just do life.
Right.
And so, one of the things I have just absolutely loved about the Breathe show that I did, based on Greg Paul's book, Close Enough to Hear God Breathe, was that I force people to stop, to slow down, so you either go with me, or the show is a big waste of time for you.
Right.
Because I go so slow at the beginning that it's almost like it's almost shocking.
Right.
To kind of get into that space of slowing down and to allow kind of this rhythm of breath to kind of take over. And, one of the things that helps in the show is that Mike Jansen, who is like this remarkable jazz pianist, plays underneath all of the scenes that I'm doing. And so he builds this kind of breath rhythm thing that I think subversively gives people permission to breathe differently, to think differently, to open up, that kind of thing.
Right. Can you tell me a little bit about what do you do creatively when you hit a dry spell? I mean, I know it's not really connected to what we were talking about, but in a sense, I think it might be on some levels.
I think it's very connected.
What? Tell me a little bit about it and how you react to it. Well,
I think for myself, the tricky part about being a self-employed artist, and certainly one who works often in the faith community and doing his own thing, is that you spend 90% of your time working to get work, and 10% of the time doing the thing you actually are made to do, which is create and to perform or write or whatever. And so, I would say for the last number of years, I've been spending most of my time doing not creative things. And there are those people who find administration creative,
right?
And bless them, but it's not me. And so the pipes get rusty, and the ability to not be checking my phone every 5 minutes, or the ability to not just shut off and not do email, or not try and get a job because I know that next month I have no work, is very hard. And with Breathe, I felt like I had to fight through it. I had to just keep plugging away, despite the fact that nothing was coming. And it was tricky, and I felt like I was literally blowing out the residue in the pipes,
right.
To try and get it cleared, because it was clogged up, and I feel like I'm kind of still there. And I'm in the process, I think, in this next season of my life, in learning how to just stop the administration and go into creative mode. And really live and thrive in that place, because I'm not good at doing both in the same day. I don't know what you do.
Right.
But if I start out doing administration, it's pretty unlikely that I'm going to have to be able to be creative that day.
Yeah, right. So you're not like Stephen King then. Stephen King, I think, says, write at least a page every day, and at the end of a year you'll have a book. You'll have 365 pages in his book on writing. It's a brilliant read, by the way.
He's a master.
I don't know if you've read it, but it's...
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's excellent, Jason. So the beginning of the book is about his addictions. It's about his own brokenness, his own baggage. And then the rest of the book is about how to write. And one of the things he talks about, along with a lot of other really valuable advice, is, it's the discipline of it. You just got to sit down and do it. And
Yep.
Great read. Hey, listen, we're getting close to wrapping up, and maybe we can have you back as another guest another time. But
Sure.
I'm a big David Cronenberg fan,
Yep.
and not a lot of people that I know are huge Cronenberg fans. But he said, let's see. Here's the quote. Quote. Just found it. You're seeing me develop not only as a filmmaker, if you've seen my earlier films, but you're seeing me kind of learn how to be a human. Close quote, which I think is beautiful. And I mean, and for those folks who have seen any of Cronenberg's work, you'd kind of go, what? You go back to Scanners or Videorome or Rabbit or some of his really early stuff, and then even some of his more recent stuff, and you're kind of going, wow, is this guy's anything but human, with some of the subject matter, the sexuality and the violence and so on that he's displaying on film. You don't need to go into a Cronenberg analysis, but tell me about how, acting and how the film, watching and performing can make us, better humans. I mean, because that's connected to the work that I do. I mean, the work that I do as a development worker, I believe, is connected to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We're all born, free and right. And
totally.
And how do we start communicating that more globally? And it's through communities, and it's through focusing, and it's through breathing, and it's by noticing our neighbors and getting to know the clerks at the shops and so on, all the stuff that we've talked about. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it from an actor's and an actor perspective.
You did a pretty good job right there.
Sorry.
Well, it's interesting to talk about this because I had a number of comments after people saw Breathe about they really got to see who I was in the show, and I think as we progress as people, and certainly I know as I'm progressing and hopefully deepening as an artist, I'm working, and I don't mean that in the difficult sense. I mean that I'm working towards uncovering and allowing more of who I am to come out. And so to Cronenberg's comment, I completely agree, and I like Cronenberg as well. And I like his recent stuff a lot. I think it's really interesting where he's been going with things, and the questions he's exploring. But very much, I think what we all need to come to realize is that we're all not so different.
It's
and
good.
We all long for the same thing. We long to be loved. We long to not feel abandoned. We long to, and I'll come back to the thing that I aspire to in my own work. We all are desperate for hope. Hope that there's more. There's more than what we have, and I don't mean money. Sometimes money, but I mean hope that we're not alone. Hope that we're not going to be in poverty for the rest of our life. Hope that this earth is not all there is. All those kind of questions.
Yeah, and that's pretty much. I mean, I think I've traveled to 40 countries around the world. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people. I think I can say that's pretty. I mean, you don't have to go too far to find the evidence for that.
Right.
That's a global phenomenon, right? That's just a part of who we are as humans, I think.
Yeah. And there's this grand disconnect that happens in so many ways, and I think slowly as a dignity is brought back into people groups, as people experience love, as people go from poverty to wealth, and I don't mean that in a financial sense. All these things, as people connect in with their creator, then these fundamental things about who we are actually come alive.
Right.
And we're whole again. We're made whole through those things.
No, that's good. Well, it's a good place to end. One of my fave films in the last 15 or 20 years was Shawshank Redemption, and the tagline. I know the tagline by heart, but fear can hold you prisoner, and hope will set you free. It's I think it's a nice way to end. Thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it. It's been fun and interesting. I think we touched on a lot of different subjects. So Jason Hildebrand, kind enough to give us about 40 minutes of his day today, talking about a lot of different things on Face to Face. face here, and check him out, jasonhildebrand.com, and the last name is HILDEBRAND.com. He's an actor, he's a coach, he's doing corporate work, he's doing live theater work and some film work, so check him out online. And thanks for joining us today, Jason. I hope we can have you back another time.
Thanks, David.